Today, I'm so excited to have Takisha Bromell with me. Takisha Bromell.
Bromell.
Thank you. I'm so happy you're here. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh, wow. That's a loaded question, Sherri. Okay. Okay. But I am the CEO of GirlFriday Business Solutions. We are 5 years in business. I'm 6 years old. And so
Mm-hmm.
you know what happens when you have I don't have any children, but I have enough god kids and stuff like that. You know what happens when you're turning 6. I mean, you think you know everything. You
Yep.
have personality. You try to put up you choose your own clothes. You do all the things. Well, a 6-year-old business is the same. It's still trying to figure itself out a little bit, but it's doing a great job at it. So we are Girl Friday Business Solutions. We are like a virtual executive assistant business, and we
Mm-hmm.
have about 30 team members that work for us. I'm also an author. I've written 2 books, A Lady in Waiting and a book called Wowzer. And I'm a speaker and coach. I do corporate speaking and training and teaching, motivational speaking, those type of things. So I feel like I'm a well-rounded woman, right? Okay, with
Uh-huh.
all
Uh-huh.
the things that go around along with that, because I rarely meet a woman that is just doing one thing. We
Yep.
are so good at doing a lot of things, and we do it well. So we really find ourselves kind of like out there doing a lot of different things and actually using all the gifts that God has given us to that. So yeah.
Well, that's you broke it all down, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted to talk to you because I saw you on LinkedIn. And
Mm-hmm,
I was
hmm.
like, oh, I have to know more about this lady because she
Yeah.
has so much going on. And then we'll talk about this. I love the name of your business.
Oh, thank
So
you.
I was like, I have to really talk to her. And with you having the executive, you said with Girl Friday Business Solutions, it's
Hmm.
executive services.
Hmm.
It's
Yes.
virtual, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
That is something that I don't want to say people have forgotten about. They have not forgotten about it because
Hmm.
that those kind of services have been around a while, but people are now doing the whole VA virtual assistants almost like overseas type of
Yes.
thing.
Yes, they are.
And
Hmm.
with you being here, that is awesome. If you could tell us a little bit more about the specific services that
Hmm.
Girl
Hmm.
Friday offers.
Yeah. So we do every we kind we so we kind of like changed how we talk about ourselves a little bit. We are virtual assistants, but we are virtual executive assistants, which is a little bit different. We support businesses and also C-suite professionals. We also have a side that's on the real estate side. So on the executive assistant side, that
Mm-hmm.
could be anything from supporting the CEO of a company
Mm-hmm.
to their C-suite professionals. So that could be creating or managing their emails. It could be managing their calendars. It could be all of those things, but so much more. Creating the SOPs, their standard operating procedures for their business. It could be all of those things that an administrative would do, but a little bit more additional tasks that are more skilled.
Okay.
Okay. And then on the other side, we support real estate agents. So we do their back office paperwork for their real estate and all those kind of things. So we do that as well. And then we do social media and things like that for our clients. Now,
Okay.
I'm just starting a side that's more on the corporate training. So we do a lot of team training, DEI training, and I would also say emotional intelligence and all types of other trainings as well. That we're starting to do that. We're actually kicking that off right now. So that was one of the things and one of the reasons why I was like, this would be great to come on your show to kind of talk about to talk about that new project that we're doing as well. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So if somebody comes to Girl Friday Business Solutions, can they do kind of like an a la carte thing? Or would they say, because one of the audiences that I'm kind of geared or tapping into is the small business and
Mm-hmm.
women starting businesses in midlife and things like that. And a lot of times, like me, for instance, I do everything myself.
Oh yeah. Hmm. Hmm.
So do you run into people who are like, look, I may have had my business like you, maybe 5 or 6 years. And I have
Hmm.
people coming in and out helping me with certain things, but there are specialized things I need. So can they get an a la carte thing kind of?
They can. Like we have some clients that come to us and they are, well, we have a couple of different types of clients. We have a client that comes to us and they have a full-time job and
Mm.
probably a full-time side hustle, or it's supposed to be a part-time side hustle, but it somehow ends up being a full-time side hustle.
Uh-huh.
And so they come to us and we help them with all the things. It could be anything, again, from scheduling their meetings and all of that to doing all of the other things that come along with that. We also do, I'm trying to think of some other things that we do, like, or other people that we work with. We work with people who um, are wanting to establish a new business, and they're
Mm.
not quite sure how to do all the things that go along with that. So we work with them as well. So it's a litany of different types of people. It could be a small business, or it could be someone who's trying to kind of like inch into the business and figure out how to do it, and then
Mm-hmm.
we come alongside them and help them. So there's two different types of people, and then we also have like the larger person who is like, we have specifically one person who's a city councilwoman, and she also has her own business, and she has us doing a lot of different things for her, creating her designs for her flyers or things like that. It could be just a whole host of different things that we do. Yes.
Okay. And you mentioned the new part of your business, which is the corporate training.
Hmm.
How
Hmm.
does that work?
Okay, so what we did is so I'm a speaker, but we have team members that are so good at what they do. So one of the things that we decided to do was to kind of like, to a hot topic right now is EQ, emotional intelligence, and also DEI training, making sure that people are opening and pushing the envelope with their team members. So what we basically do is you can come in, you can actually do an a la carte thing where you actually just buy a training from us, or you can actually hire us as your chief cultural officer, where we actually come in and we support you for the entire year.
Ah,
So yeah, so you can use us in either way. And so we actually have a couple customers that have now decided to kind of like use us for their entire year.
oh wow, that's great. So if a new business owner comes to you guys
Hmm.
and they are overwhelmed and really aren't sure where to start, because we just kind of talked about that a
Yeah.
little bit, what do you usually say to them to kind of help them out and how
Mm.
you guys will help them?
You know, I do most of the business development. So when I'm listening into to a potential client, I'm really listening to their pain points. Like, what is going on in your business? What are the things that you feel like are just like, what are you happy, your happy place? The things that make give you the energy. And then also, what are the things that are kind of like, I need to give this away or I'm going to lose it, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So my first client was a real estate client. And I remember her, one day she called me and said, I'm ready. And I was
Yeah.
like, okay. So I met with her and it was at a Starbucks. And she came in with all these files and was like, here you go. But I've had enough. I can't do it
Mhm,
anymore. So I'm
mhm,
really listening in, and they're cluing me in on the things that give them energy. Now, I will say I'm more of a personality profile enthusiast myself. So what I always say to people is
mhm,
there's just some people you can be good at something, but most people that are in sales, or they're the person who's more of the extrovert and all those kind of things. I'm not saying that they can't be good at paperwork. It's just
mhm.
it doesn't come fully natural to them. So why not give your work to someone that is going to do it faster than you, do it probably more efficient than you, like all the things. So when I'm talking to people, I'm saying, if you were to go out, let's okay, Sherri, I'm talking to you because you do all your stuff. Okay.
Yes,
Now,
yes.
okay. So if you were to think about, let's say you made $100 an hour. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
let's say that that's what your value is. I know it's more than that, but let's just
Mm-hmm.
make it a nice round number of $100. Would you pay $100 an hour to someone to do your administrative work?
Yeah, probably. Well,
Well,
no, if I'm making $100 an
well,
hour,
you're making $100 an hour, so would you pay someone $100 an hour to do that? Your
no.
administrative work? You wouldn't do
No.
it. Why
Mm-mm.
wouldn't you do it? You wouldn't do it because they're you're not going to pay an administrative assistant $100 an hour. So then
Mm-hmm.
why are you doing it? Like
Mm.
and so I say that to people and they're like, why am I doing it? Like if I gave my work to someone and I'm just giving a roundabout number,
Mm-hmm.
30 or $40 an hour or $50 an hour. If I were to give them that dollar amount, I'm saving myself and then
Yeah.
I'm energized to go and get the work. Okay. And I'll go and find me a contract so I can pay that person.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So then why are you doing your work? Why are you the 10 hours that you're spending doing your work? You could pay someone and you're saving yourself money and but you're also saving yourself the focus to go out there and get work and do the things that you need to do.
And time too. Because a lot
And
of
time.
time when you're doing that kind of work, it does take a lot of time. Even though you might have somebody that, and I'm a firm believer in this. Let people do what they do. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I'm saying? Even
Mm-hmm.
though as a small business owner, you have to do everything. But if you can find those who do what they do, like you said, administrative
Mm-hmm.
assistants, they're quicker, they're on it, they've got it. And then you're already, while you're doing it, thinking of other things. Believe me, I'm trying
Absolutely.
like Helen.
Absolutely.
When
And
you're
then you
doing
can
it, you're
go
not,
and get the bacon and let me stir it up in a pan. That was a thing back in the day. Like,
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah, I remember it. I remember that. Yeah. So it's like so much easier if you let somebody do what they do. And that way you could put the time and the effort and more of the thought into the next thing or the other thing you really need to do. So
exactly
yeah,
right.
yeah, I know. Again, why I wanted to talk to you because I completely get it. It's like, oh yes. Um, so as we're talking, and I know we've said this, but what is that one line like what for those existing business owners? What is it
Mhm.
that you tell them as to why they need your services? Why they need Girl Friday Business
Exactly what
Solutions?
Yeah, I think it's exactly what I just said. Like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, like you need to balance this out. And you're absolutely right. You could absolutely go out there and do it yourself.
Mm-hmm.
But what you're trying to do is, and now there are some people who are not trying to establish a business that's going to be long lasting. They
Uh,
are in it for this moment
mm-hmm.
and then they're going to be gone somewhere. But if you are trying to start a business and you're wanting to grow that business, you have to have other arms. Now,
Yeah.
I'm saying this and almost like maybe, I don't even, when I started, it wasn't a year before. One of my clients suggested that I bring on a intern.
Hmm.
I didn't know that I needed that intern until that intern was there.
Yeah.
She was brilliant. She was what I needed at that moment. And she gave me other arms that so I didn't have to sit there and be doing and going and trying to sell and then do the work.
Mm-hmm.
Once that intern came, and also me reading this book, I think it was like the E Myth, and understanding that like you can't you need as an owner you shouldn't work fully in the business. You need to work on the business is basically what the book, the
Mm.
premise is. Work on your business
Yeah.
and not in your business. I read that book before I started my business. I didn't know how I was going to be able to actually insert someone in. But once I did, and it was an intern, it opened me up to so much more. And then
Hmm.
after the intern came my first team member. And if you're wanting to actually do that, it's hard to do both.
Yeah.
And the energy that it takes to do it is even hard. I mean, it zaps your energy. And so you
Mm-hmm.
just have to say that my time is worth more I should be focused on revenue generating opportunities, and that my time is better spent there, and that I'm going to go and find me a client so I can pay this person.
Mm.
If there's a client out there that will pay for my team member, and you go
Wow.
and do it. Because if you
So,
want that purse, if you wanted something else, or if you wanted that trip somewhere, you save for it, you put money aside for it, you do whatever you need to do. You go and find that contract so you can go ahead and get get all of your stuff together. So you have to do it for your team as well and build that team. That is a sustainable team for
mm-hmm.
you.
So your team members and the people that
Mm-hmm.
work with you, how did you, this is on a whole side thing. How did you pull them all together? How did you
Mm.
come up with that and pull them together?
I think it was just one step at a time. Like
Uh-huh.
as contracts came in, then I started to be more strategic about like who I needed on my team to kind of exact those. Like I promised people something. Now I need to deliver. And I could all do it all by myself, but I kind of gave myself release
Mm-hmm.
to hire. I was like this right here. And
Mm-hmm.
that's how we are when we start a business, a
Yeah.
small business. We're like this right here, as much as I can save, as much as I can do. And I wouldn't have gone outside of myself if the person hadn't given me the book, the email.
Mm.
Then I realized that I need to look outside of myself, but I wasn't ready to do it. I was still trying to stay within this little small thing. But in order to bud, I mean, like when you're talking about a flower, it has to bud, it has to expand, it has to grow, and you have to let go. And so that was when I was just like, okay. So when I went to go and hire my team members, it was like one or two, and I was like, how am I going to pay this person? And there was like three and four, and then there was like one time, Sherri, I remember I probably had about 10 or 15 team members at the time, and it's like maybe a couple years ago, and I kept every time I would go in to pull the report with the hours and everything, I like looked at my thing and I'm like, oh my God. I'm like seeing like hundreds and then it got to thousands of hours of time. And I'm like, who me? Like who am
Wow.
I paying these people? Am I really paying these people? Like it was so surprising to me. And I would sit there in awe. I was like
Amazement.
looking at these hours and saying, how is this working? What is going on? I couldn't believe that the business was doing what it was doing and that we were growing and that there were thousands of hours that I was processing on a weekly, bi-weekly, whatever basis. It to me was outstanding and amazing all at the same time.
And a proud moment. I mean,
Yeah.
how did that make, I mean, how did that really, really just make you feel? I mean, like, yes, I'm doing this thing.
I was awe. I was awe. I was awe. I was like, God, like, how is this happening? And I can't believe it. Last year we doubled our business, and I remember, like, I had been looking at the numbers, and I could see there was like a slow tick up in growth, but I was really kind of like, again, like not thinking anything. It
Mm-hmm.
wasn't until like maybe June, July-ish that I started to pull the numbers together. And I realized as I was like looking at the full picture, it's one thing to kind of like look at it from this perspective a month at a time
Mm-hmm.
or a
Mm-hmm.
quarter at a time. It's another thing to look at holistically. And I said, oh my gosh, I sent a message to my team and I was like, this is what's happening. The reason why it feels like we're experiencing growing pains. We are about to double we're about to double this year, our revenue. I
Yeah.
couldn't believe it. Again, I was in awe all over again, Sherri. I mean, it's like awe over here. Like, oh my gosh. Like, are you serious that we're doubling this year? If we're on pace to double, and when we double, I completely was lost. I was like, oh my goodness, here we go again, because we're 5 years in. 5 years, and most companies are gone.
Yeah.
Like, some
Yeah.
don't make it, and the ones that make it five, they don't make it to 5 years. And if they
Yeah.
make it to 5 years, they're pretty much almost, it's kind of trailing down rather than
Yeah.
going up.
Mhm. Mhm.
And so that's when I was like, I was in awe, but then I was completely amazed
Yeah.
by an African American business, actually a woman owned business. When we
Mhm.
look at the numbers, men make more than us. Their
Mhm.
businesses usually do as well. That we're in the thick of things. That was awesome to me.
And you know what? That's really inspiring for anyone listening too, that is thinking about even starting a business, or they've always had in the back of their mind, you know what? I want to do this. This is something I've always wanted to do. A lot of women get in midlife and decide that they're going to do it, but things hold them back. And even though you said a lot of businesses don't make it to 5 years, but there are businesses like yours that do. And the 5 years are going to go by anyway.
Yeah.
So you might as well put in the time, put in the effort and what it takes. And
Mhm.
then you end up with a story like yours where you're continuing to grow and flourish. And it was something that you started really during midlife. And what,
I'm 51. I'm 51 years old right now. I'm
mm-hmm,
51 years old. When I
mm-hmm,
started, then that means I was probably about 45-ish, 40. I was right
mm-hmm,
there.
mm-hmm.
I look at it now and I'm like, oh my goodness. Like, I mean, it has definitely energized me and kept me going for sure.
Yeah.
There's a lot more to be had or whatever. It's like, I feel like this is a stepping stone to so much more. And there's so much more that I want to give the next 10 years of my life.
Yep.
And that's awesome. But I also think about it in terms of my team members and what they're getting, what they're experiencing, because what I've been hearing and what they've been telling me over the past couple of weeks, which has made me cry, is that they feel that too. Like my team members are getting so much from growing beside me
Mm.
and me making decisions sometimes or whatever, that it's been a really good experience for them too. They're learning a lot too.
Well, you mentioned that you started at around 45. What was the inspiration? What made you decide to go into entrepreneurship?
You know what? I feel like I probably could have done it earlier.
Mm.
And probably maybe should have done it earlier. But I was working for a business coach, and he was always talking about potential and all those kind of things. And so after hearing him in so many ways preach it over and over again, and I had worked for him for about 2 years,
Yeah.
something seeps inside of you. Potential, it's, all the things. And then I remember going to some millionaire producers when
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking about my business. And I'm honestly, I went to them thinking, just tell me no. Tell me to go and sit down somewhere. I am absolutely okay with
Yeah.
not doing this idea, right? And so
Yeah.
I went to them, and every last one of them said, yes, this is a great idea. You should do it. And they would give me one piece or another piece of the puzzle. Right. So by
Mm.
the time I left, like maybe the sixth person, I was like, okay, I'm absolutely doing this.
Yeah.
And then it was like, okay, now, how do I bring this in? Because they've given me so much information, so many things to think about.
Mm-hmm. But at least one of the things that was really good, you were able to go to some people that could mentor you, and
Hmm.
so you knew to go to someone like that.
Hmm.
Sometimes we start, or we're thinking about business and we go to the wrong people.
Oh yeah, sure.
We go to the husband or the friend or, the next door neighbor, and they're not as excited. And then that
Well,
kind of deflates us a little bit. But it's
all of
important.
those people though have something to do with the whole process. And what I mean by that, your husband, your whatever, like if you're not focused on them, that may change things. So everyone has
Mm.
their own perspective about it, because you and what you do today affects what they're going to be doing today and in the future, right? And
Wow.
so they're gonna. So if they don't have good intentions, or if they want to kind of like dampen, to bring you back in, that's what they're gonna do. I went outside of those people and went to people that they knew me, but they had it was going to be no effect to them if I did it or not. Like it wasn't
Wow,
going to.
that is actually, I've never even heard it like that. Cause you people always say, well, you don't tell people your business, or you don't tell people your hopes and dreams. You just go out there and you do it because people aren't going to be happy for you. But you're absolutely right. A lot of times it's just if you're doing something, how it's going to affect them that they
Hmm.
see more
Exactly.
so. Wow. Mm, mm. So then you mentioned earlier that you're a speaker and you are also an author along with being an entrepreneur.
Hmm.
Those are a lot of hats.
Yeah.
Like, how has doing those three things helped you in your professional journey? And how has it made you see yourself? What have you learned about yourself?
You know, as far as the books are concerned, they were just. I feel like I was just a channel to those books coming. And the
Mm-hmm.
reason why I say that is, like, when I say that I'm a okay writer or whatever. I don't. I always wonder if I'm a writer.
Mm-hmm.
I can write very well, but those books just came out of me.
Mm-hmm.
Like one day I was sitting there and I felt like a stirring. The next thing I know, within 72 hours, I had written most of the book.
Wow.
Like it just and I don't have any children, but like I birthed that thing out of me and the book just came. And
Mm-hmm.
when I say that, I mean chapter by chapter. It was just flowing and I was just writing. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so I can't say that I've written a book like just sitting there and really taking my time and like, every day I'm gonna be
Mm-hmm.
consistent and write. It just flow it now, like once it came out, then there was like, okay, let me get an editor
Mm-hmm.
and then my editor really helped me form the book and come
Yeah.
up with the stuff that came out of it or whatever, and asked me, okay, right here I think you need a story here, go back
Mm-hmm.
and think through this or whatever, and just really helped me go through the process. So so with all of that being said, the book was just a little bit different. It just is it was what it was at that time, and it just came pushed out, and I did that. My
Mm-hmm.
speaking is what I know is my energy. It is the thing. I love being in front of people. I love seeing people when they got it,
Mm-hmm.
when you said something to them and they got it. That
Yeah.
whole process, I love that. I so Ask me again. What was the last part of your question?
It was, what have you learned about yourself?
Mm.
Being a speaker, an author, and an entrepreneur,
You know,
and that journey.
I think that every step in uncharted territory, I I rose to the occasion.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
When I was a project manager, okay, before I was a project manager, I was assistant or project manager. I didn't know what I was doing. You know, they hired me for this job, and I went and figured out how to do it.
Yep.
Okay. And then when I became a project manager, I was like, they appointed me as a project manager. How in the world?
Yeah.
Okay. And I went and I figured it out.
Mm-hmm.
It was not in my field. My bachelor's degree is in criminal justice. But then once I became a project manager, I went and got my master's in project management. I feel like every step of the way, when I didn't know how to write a book, but
Yep.
okay, it came. And then the uncharted territory, I've always been able to, everything that the breadcrumbs and everything that God has placed in front of me are the things that are inherently inside of me. They're inside
Yeah.
of me. They're deep inside of me. And so I can figure it out. And then there's this book
Yeah.
called Everything's Figure Outable or something like that. Everything is. I mean, and everything that comes across your path is. And
It
we can
is.
do it.
It is. And it's so crazy that you say that too, because I remember somebody telling me when I was like, oh, you know what? I'm going to start a podcast. They were like, what do you know about podcasting?
Hmm.
Nothing. What does anybody know? Maybe
Hmm.
it's in some school right now, but you know what
Hmm.
I mean? It's been around a little bit, but you just figure it out. And every year you grow, and every year it changes, but you learn.
You
And
learn.
so I was
You
kind of
get
taken
better
back
and
by that.
better.
Yeah, I was exactly. And I was kind of taken back by that because I've always been like you, where things have come out. I'm like, I have no idea what I'm doing, but I'm going to figure it out.
Yes.
People say fake it till you make it, but it's not really faking it till you make it. It's just figuring out what you need to do and doing it. And
And nothing, letting nothing intimidate you. Now, when I was
exactly.
younger, I would I would get chosen for things. I remember my church choosing me to be the director of Christian education at the church, and I was like, my pastor, and I was like, what is he doing? There are
Mhm.
ministers that can do this. There are all these people. I would get chosen for things that were outside of my element, and I'm like, why? I would leave them like bewildered that they asked me to do it, right?
Yeah.
And then
Hmm.
but then in like but then there would be something that would come inside of me that would be like, okay, it's not that hard, figure it out.
Yep. Yep.
And then I'm off to the races and I'm doing it, and I'm now doing these things that I never
Hmm.
thought possible, uncharted territory, but here's
Hmm.
Takisha doing it and doing
Yep.
it well.
Exactly. Exactly. Um, Lots of women, like we said, decide to go into business midlife. What is your advice to them?
What I did midlife, 45, 44, somewhere in there, was go to people, not necessarily that were in the field that I was doing, but were
Hmm.
top notch and I admired too, because those people don't care if you make it. They want you to succeed. When I say care, they're not intimidated by your success.
Yeah.
So I went to those people and I said, hey, tell me what I can do, and should I do it? And they all said yes, and they gave me something. When people are
Wow.
not intimidated and they don't have any control over what's going to happen to you, and they want the best for you. So
Yep.
the first thing that I would do is say, go to someone that's outside of your sphere of influence and go to them
Mm.
and say, hey, this is what I'm thinking about. Give me some advice. You take that information, you gather that information, and then you go for it. Whatever they tell you, they're telling you for a reason. And then you go
Yeah.
for it and you chart your own course. And just know that you will rise up to the occasion. You will figure it out. You will go and you'll start doing your research. You'll start pulling it together. Like, it's okay. And then the last thing is, it's okay. Like, fail fast. And what I mean
Yeah.
by that is you're gonna wanna you should go and do it and push yourself and fail fast if you need to.
I'm I'm sorry. I think she went off. Yeah.
Okay, that's okay.
I'll be able to cut that out. So you can
Okay.
say again, fail fast. That was my
Um,
interview.
fail
That was my
fast.
interview from Panama.
Okay,
That's
got it. Okay. Yeah.
and I'll
Okay.
be
We'll get there.
editing. So
Okay,
yeah,
that's fine.
fail fast.
But so yeah, fail fast. Like, go ahead and go for it. And I think that sometimes we try to hold on to things like reassess. And fail fast to me just means do it and then look through and see what's not working and
Yep.
then take those things away, do something different and just keep going. Not all failure is bad. Sometimes you have to go through the bumps to get to the next side of it. And let me tell you, that's what happened. Don't it doesn't even like, oh my gosh, like why didn't this it just keep going. You're gonna be just fine.
I like to ask people for advice, and I like to ask people about the advice that they were given because I remember a while ago, a long time ago, I had started a business, and there was something that this accountant told me that I never forgot. And it applied to everything I did. And one of the things he said to me was, um, he worked with small businesses, and he said where a lot of small businesses fail is they fail to prepare for success.
Mm.
So he said, do create the infrastructure for success. Yeah, you can get out there, and if you're selling, lipstick, you can sell as many lipsticks as you want, and you have a few here, a few there. But then there might be that one order that comes to you. It's something major, 10,000 lipsticks. Well, where will you be ready for that? How
Mm.
is your infrastructure set up? He said, so a lot of people look at the little day to day, but prepare for that big picture.
Yeah.
And that always kind of stood with me. So I like to ask people what advice, like you just said, you gave some really, really good advice because there are people that sit in it. You know, things are going crazy. Stuff is not right. I'm just going to sit in it because eventually it will. No, 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 no. Assess it, like you said. What do I need to do? Do I need to stop this?
Mm-hmm.
Do I need to hand it off to someone else? Um, Lastly,
Mm-hmm.
let's talk about the name Girl Friday.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
Tell us about.
Yeah, my old boss. So Girl Friday was an old movie back in the day. And
Mm-hmm,
it was a black and white movie. And it was basically this person, it was like his Girl Friday or something like that. And it really was like, like this woman did everything. She was his assistant and did everything like to
mm-hmm,
support him. And I was with my old boss, and this was at that time that I was saying that I went to $1 million producer and was like, "Hey, he was one of them." And I said, I'm thinking about this business. The business the name I came up with was just like it was trash. I mean, it was absolute trash. And he said, "Well, he said I was asking my girl Friday the other day about should she do da da da," and I'm like, "Girl Friday, what are you talking about? You've never heard of the word Girl Friday?" No, I have never heard of that. And then he introduced the story to me about the movie. I left him and went to go and try to find the movie and all those kind of things. And I was like, "That's the name. That is the name. That is the name." It's like, do you need a Girl Friday in your life? And most business people need a Girl Friday. It's like you need someone that is going to be behind you, support you, anticipate your needs,
mm-hmm.
execute well, get things done for you. You can call them and say, how can you help? Can you help me with this? And they're like, yes. And they work in excellence. And so, and we support the business owner. And that's the reason why I felt like that was a unique name for us. And it rings true that anywhere I go, when I say that name, it starts the conversation.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, I would think so because I've never seen the movie, but I remember the name and I remember that's what Girl Friday was. And
Mm-hmm.
also it's kind of a nod to an old-fashioned traditional era too,
Mm-hmm.
because now everyone is boss bitch. You know what
I
I'm saying?
know. I know. Yeah.
Versus Girl
Yes.
Friday. And there's nothing wrong with Girl Friday. Girl Friday kept everything really going. Girl
Mhm.
Friday, you know what I mean? So when
I'm
I
a
saw,
boss lady, and which is great. You know what I'm
yes,
saying? Okay, be who that is, which is wonderful.
yes,
And let us help. But boss lady doesn't mean that you have to. A lot of the boss ladies that are out there don't have team members.
exactly.
They are the boss of themselves and they
Mhm.
need that support. So that's how we come behind you. You can be the boss lady, but have a team of people behind you that can support you.
Yep,
Yeah.
nice. Well, Takisha, thank you for being here on Mature
Thank you.
Allure. If people wanted to get in touch with you, how do they go about doing that?
Oh gosh. So our website is girlfridaybusinesssolutions.com. And that's the easiest way to find us because you can click in there and get a meeting with me on there. It's like
Mhm.
a 30-minute complimentary meeting with me. And then Takisha Bromell, I'm sorry, Takisha at Girlfriday, which is Takisha at
Mhm.
girlfridaybusinesssolutions.com. We're everywhere on the internet and also on social media. So you can our Facebook page. We have a Facebook page and LinkedIn page. So we're everywhere. Mm-hmm.
Nice, nice. Well, it's been awesome having you here,
Thank
and I
you. I
appreciate you
appreciate it.
taking the time. Thank
Yes,
you very much. And you and I will keep in touch.
we will absolutely because I will probably at some point be doing my or restarting my own podcast, and we'll probably be calling you for help. We're like, can you
Okay.
help me with all the ideas?
Exactly.
Yeah.
There have been a lot of lessons learned, girl. A lot of
I am
lessons.
sure you can cut
And
out all the stuff and get me to where I need to be at.
and I know there's more. So
Yeah.
awesome. Thank you so much for being here.
Okay. Thank you. Take care.
You're listening to the Mature Allure podcast. I'm your host, Sherri O. If you have a topic in mind that you'd like us to cover on Mature Allure, drop us a note in the comments or share it with us on one of our social media channels. Until the next time, remember, self-love is the key to unlocking the radiant allure that shines from within.